What's up? This is EJ Stewart.
What if I dropped 40 days, 40 nights?
All you are your words. If there's anything you learned about me, I'm going to keep it 100 with you.
My skill shot will hold for your city for 40 days.
Rest in peace to all my ops.
Let's go!
Let's go is right. What's up? This is EJ Stewart. You are watching 40 Days and Counting, where I do 2 live stream shows per week. One Tuesday, 6 p.m., one Friday, 8 a.m. And this is a big end to the week because we got to talk about the NBA Finals. Game 1 was taken by the Knicks on Wednesday. Game 2 is tonight. We'll have a full preview of Game 2. You'll hear from the likes of Jalen Brunson, plus some San Antonio stars including Victor Wembanyama, Stephon Castle, and Dylan Harper. We'll also give you the latest on some stuff happening outside the court when it comes to the NBA Finals. A lot of interesting, weird things happening when it comes to some fan interactions that people have been focused on. Of course, we saw a fan run on the court. We have an update on that guy. We also have an update on a fan incident that involved Jalen Brunson. So we'll talk about all those things involving the NBA Finals. We also will talk about a major retirement in the NFL. Russell Wilson is hanging it up and joining the TV booth. He officially retired this week. He will now be joining NFL on CBS. We talked a lot about on this show, ironically, weirdly. We talked about the Russell Wilson to TV move that felt like it was kind of in the works and maybe being kind of soft launched. Well, now the hard launch is here. He is joining NFL on CBS, and we'll talk about how Russell Wilson's career will be remembered in the NFL now that it is officially over. We'll also talk about a big injury in Major League Baseball. Aaron Judge has a rib fracture, which sounds like terrible news, and I guess in the larger context it is, but this actually could have been a lot worse. So we'll explain that as well. And again, like I say, this is a sports-centered show, which means there'll be things maybe outside the purview of live sports that we talk about. And one of these things today is going to be video games. Both from the sports side and the non-sports side. So this was a big video game week for your boy EJ. I'm a big, obviously, video game player, a gamer, as they say. That's probably a funny drop if I had someone who create drops for me. But no, we're going to talk video games because yesterday a big reveal by EA. They unveiled new details and the first gameplay action from both Madden NFL 27 and EA College Football 27. You guys who follow me on social media, if you listen to me on the Maggie and Perloff show, you guys know how much I love my EA College Football. And my outlook on life changed for the better in a more positive light when EA announced that it was bringing back EA College Football, because it was a massive part of my childhood and teen years and adolescence and all 9. So we'll tell you about that update. And as much as I'm excited about EA College Football 27, and I'll be honest, some of these details make it arguably the most anticipated game for me this upcoming year, I still don't think that it is quite the most anticipated game for me, because we also got our first gameplay trailer for Marvel's Wolverine for the PS5. We're going to have to talk about that trailer because that trailer was also fire. Fire, very violent, and one that I think if you're a Wolverine fan or you're a Marvel fan or you're an X-Men fan, you will find something in this that you will enjoy. So we got to talk about all that. This is 40 Days and Counting. We're streaming live in multiple spots, including streaming live on YouTube. New Generation Media is a YouTube channel. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. While you're there, also like this video. Also comment in the comment section. Get active. Get engaged. We want to hear from you what you're thinking about what's going on with the NBA Finals, Russell Wilson, Aaron Judge. We want to hear it all. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, New Generation Media. Also be sure to watch on X, EJ_Stewart is where I'm at on X. So if you want to watch the show on X, we are live there. So make sure you follow your boy EJ_Stewart. And while you're there, also follow New Generation Media there. At New Generation Pod is the X account. Also be sure to follow me on Instagram. Action EJs, where we're live currently on Instagram. Did not forget. It's like this weird little like third, fourth step you got to do to make sure I'm live on Instagram. So sometimes I forget while I'm doing the show and I run on late. But we're live on Instagram. Excited to be live on Instagram. And we are also live on Buzzer. So shout out to the Buzzer family. Make sure you guys sign up for Buzzer. This is going to be one of the next big things in sports content. So many people, so many fans are looking for sports content without so much of the noise and nonsense that comes with it. The bots, the aggregators, the stands. You can avoid all that with Buzzer. So make sure you sign up. Make sure you lock in. We're streaming live on Buzzer. I do content for them. I'm doing a NBA draft show every Thursday, 6 p.m. We streamed 40 Days and Counting. I was hosting the live feed for for NBA Finals Game 1. So Buzzer is going to be the place to be. Make sure you sign up. We are live on Buzzer. So much to do in this episode of 40 Days and Counting. I want to get right to it, man. Let's begin with Game 1 of the NBA Finals. Game 2 of the NBA Finals. We can't talk about Game 1, but Game 2 is tonight, 8:30 Eastern. Knicks and Spurs back in action. The Knicks right now hold a 1-0 series lead over the Spurs after getting Game 1 on the road. This is your feel-out game. This is the game where you're trying to figure out how a team is going to attack you, at least in their plan A attack for a series. And for the road team, Game 1s are very important because it's probably the easier game to steal than Game 2 when the team now knows a little bit of how the series is going to go and can make adjustments. So the Knicks got a crucial win winning Game 1. The numbers in terms of winning Game 1 and winning NBA Finals and winning playoff series are pretty high. You're about, I think around, for a long time, it's been around like the 65, 67% kind of lane. I actually looked that up, but I'm pretty sure it's somewhere around there. So if you win Game 1, you're usually in really good shape. But of course, it's basketball. Anything can happen. So we're going to have to see how this series goes. Just speaking on Game 1, because I know, by the way, also an early plug too. Make sure you listen to Orange and Blue Bloods. My recap of Game 1 is up on both the New Generation Media YouTube page as well as the podcast. Anywhere you get your podcast, just search Orange and Blue Bloods. That was what a ride doing that show with the Knicks winning Game 1. And if you want a Knicks perspective only, that's going to be the place to go. But the Knicks win Game 1 in a very bizarre game. It was a great game. It was a game that had everything. But you want to talk about heroics from Jalen Brunson. He gets injured, it seems, with his knee. Goes back to the locker room, comes back out. Doesn't seem 100%, but after a really rough start to the game, he puts on his cape and puts on a masterful final three quarters, including some clutch shots down the stretch to help the Knicks win this one. This was not the greatest offensive game for Victor Wembanyama. He shot 6 of 21 from the field. He did make, I think, 12 or 13 free throws or something like that. So he had an impact in terms of scoring the ball. He had 26 points, but it was not the most efficient, and he didn't need a lot of free throws in order to make that happen. A lot of question marks in this game, but Jalen Brunson was definitely the story because of how he was able to dominate down the stretch of the game. And it took a lot of shots. He had to be very aggressive, and he scored 30 points. It was on 31 shots. It did come off of a really rough start to this game. I think he started like 1 for 8 or 1 for 9, and then he obviously shot the ball much better down the stretch. Here was Jalen Brunson at practice yesterday talking about kind of the volume of shots and how he approached his Game 1 performance and how things may change for Game 2.
So a lot of different things. I thought I shot some shots that I normally make. Had a couple bad ones as well. But it's all about how you move forward and all about how you kind of respond in a positive way. So no matter what's going on, just trying to stay positive, still trying to find a way to win.
Yeah, I think one of the things in kind of looking at this series overall, so much of the conversation around the Knicks and the epiphany they have found offensively in lowering the usage of Jalen Brunson and actually allowing Karl-Anthony Towns to run so much of the offense. So much conversation has been, well, Jalen Brunson has been able to take not a backseat. He's still leading the team in scoring. He's still taking the most shots, but just he's not the end-all, be-all of the offense anymore. At least he hasn't been. With this series, after watching these teams play, and particularly watching Victor Wembanyama's impact defensively, and how not only does he take away whoever he's guarding in some ways, though Karl-Anthony Towns had a very good game in Game 1, so I won't say he took him away. But, he could limit the offensive output of whoever he's guarding in Game 1. He also takes away other guys who he's not guarding by just being in the area. And to me, Josh Hart and Mikal Bridges. Josh Hart's game was phenomenal in terms of rebounding and defense, but scoring, those guys who score a lot in the mid-range seem very bothered by Victor Wembanyama, which to me means I wonder if this series does have to become more of a Jalen Brunson putting his cape on, because if those guys aren't making wide open threes, their scoring impact may not be as significant as it was, especially for Mikal Bridges in the last 2 series. It's going to be something I think to watch as I watch that game unfold. Jalen Brunson had to take 31 shots. That's a lot of shots. You do wonder, he already got hurt in this game. You do wonder about, can he keep up that kind of output? You probably don't want him taking 30 shots again. But I think this is going to be a series where they're probably going to need Jalen Brunson because he has the most craft. He has the best ability to get his shot off against not just these awesome defenders on the perimeter, but also in finding angles to avoid Victor Wembanyama because he's such a scientist when it comes to his offensive attack. This might be a series where the Knicks are going to have to rely a little bit on Brunson being a little bit more hero ball than they have in the previous series. It's going to be something to watch. I thought the Spurs' decision to put Victor Wembanyama on Karl-Anthony Towns, I think, also took a little bit away from the Knicks' ability to run a lot of their high post actions. Karl-Anthony Towns, thinking him with 4 assists was still a pretty good number, but this is a guy that was getting triple doubles. This is a guy that was averaging 7 or 8 assists in the last few series. He was not able to do that in part because something that we saw a little bit in the Cavs series, where if you put a longer guy on him who's super athletic and can get in the passing lanes and disrupt his passes, it's a little harder for him to see around those guys, right? Like Victor Wembanyama had a couple of deflections on Karl-Anthony Towns' passes where he's on the ball guarding him. That's how long his arms are, and we saw that a little bit with Evan Mobley, and we've seen it here within this series. So the Karl-Anthony Towns point center stuff, there's going to be aspects of it that are in the offense. It's part of their team now. We did see some aspects. He hit Landry Shamet, I remember, on a good cut. I think he hit Alvarado on one as well. So he's going to have a couple of those moments, especially when he's not being guarded by Vic. But this is probably going to be a series where if the Knicks do win, it's going to require Jalen Brunson to put on his cape a little bit. And that is what he did in Game 1. I thought overall, when I think about how we're going to come into tonight's game, this feels... The last game was a weird game because I don't know how... I'm not sure how indicative it is of how the series is going to go, which is why I think winning it was important, because I think this series will have ebbs and flows. Mainly, the ebbs and flows and guys will shoot better. I saw a stat that the Spurs, I think, were 10 for 38 from catch and shoot shots. I think the Knicks, I forgot what the percentage was, but they were really poor on off-the-dribble jump shots. And they actually live a lot on off-the-dribble jump shots with Jalen Brunson, with Mikal Bridges. They are very comfortable shooting off the dribble. So the fact that they shot the ball so poorly, both teams, it's the finals. There are some guys that just won't play well. There's some guys that won't be able to live up to the moment. So we have to bake that in. I'm not going to say these guys can now shoot 60-70% unless you're Landry Shamet, because that seems to be just his disposition at this point. He's on a heater. But besides him, I would expect on both sides, guys maybe not shoot necessarily right to their percentages, but guys to shoot better than Game 1. So I this in many ways I think is going to probably be a much better tell of how the series will go. I say that kind of with a little bit of a pause, only because the Knicks won Game 1, and while this is not a team as we've seen, they do not let go of the rope. They didn't let go of the rope in Game 1. They didn't let go of the rope in Game 1 in the Eastern Conference Finals. So if they're down, they definitely are live to make a comeback. This is what they do. But I do think that they know that this is likely going to be a series that's going to be much more challenging than the previous two. So if they are in a situation where they get down in Game 2 and the Spurs come out with extreme desperation, which is what they need, they're playing a game that they cannot lose. This might be the one where the Knicks finally have this 12-game winning streak end. They have not lost a game since late April. And shout out to Andrew Claudio from Knicks Film School. He posted a post that is unbelievable to read. But the last time the Knicks lost a game, it was the NFL Draft. Night 1 of the NFL Draft. And it's actually ironic because I actually remember this because a lot was going on at the same time. I'm a Jets fan, as you guys know, listening to the show, watching this show, or watching any content I do. The Jets were selecting with the 16th pick, while the Knicks were in this drag-out they were trying to make a massive comeback against a drag-out kind of game against the Hawks. And then you had the Mets collapsing in a game at home at the same time. They had given up a grand slam, I think, to give up the lead. It was a conundrum of nonsense. Jets actually making a good pick with Sadiq, but still, Jets being in the draft, which always kind of brings you PTSD for what they've done in the past. The Mets collapsing late in the 8th inning, and then the Knicks, after retaking the lead in the 4th quarter, somehow blowing it against CJ, Michael Jordan, McCollum. So it was a lot going on. But that was the last time this team lost. It's crazy. I think this is unprecedented. I'm pretty sure this is the record, 12 straight playoff wins. I've never seen a team go on this kind of run. This last win felt a lot different than the other ones. It even felt different than the Cleveland game. Because I mentioned this on Orange and Blue Bloods. This last win felt less like a Spurs collapse and more like tough, gritty Knicks comeback than the Cavs game. The Cavs game felt like a collapse. And in theory, it was worse, right? Because it was less time and more points. Like the Knicks went down, I think, 14 in the 3rd quarter. That's not... It felt like a big lead because there wasn't a lot of scoring. But that's not a huge lead in today's NBA. Whether they were down 22 in the 4th quarter with like 8 minutes left, even in the NBA, that's a pretty big lead to lose. So the fact that they found a way to come back, as much as the conversation was about Jalen Brunson and his heroics, again, also a lot of it was, man, Cavs, how do you blow that game? Like that's a game you cannot lose. This previous game, game 1, felt a lot more like tough, gritty win for the Knicks, and they made a great comeback, and it took a lot of effort, and Spurs were right there, but the Knicks showed a lot of mettle. Speaking about this series, I want you to hear from Stephon Castle, because some of the approach, and then, you don't want to live and die with media commentary, but the approach, I feel like, from the Spurs has been a little interesting in the media. I want you to hear from Stephon Castle about kind of how they're approaching this, because after the game, one of the more interesting comments I actually made a comment about on social media was Victor Wembanyama. He had made a comment where he had said essentially after they lost game 1, the quote exactly I have here is, it's almost not like I have anything to figure out. It's almost like I have to play normal, not even good. It's a weird comment to me. I'll get to why I think it's a weird comment in a second, but I want you to hear Stephon Castle, because he's also co-signing that message from Victor Wembanyama and adding that he feels like the Spurs, despite losing, have shown that they're the better team.
I think Vic said it best. I don't think we have anything to be too worried about. I mean, obviously, we feel like we're the better team, and we didn't play well and still had a chance to win. So, if we take one thing from that, just going back to being ourselves and, focusing on the right things.
So it's already game 1, and now we're talking about, or now it's game 2, but it's after game 1, we're already talking about, I think we're the better team when you're down 0-1. It's an interesting approach. Victor Wembanyama also talking about how the loss in game 1 was really all mental, and in order to win, they just have to play, in his words, quote, normal.
Yeah, I think the reason we lost that game isn't even technical. It's not even technical, tactical. It's we need to approach the game with a better mental state, and we just need to play our game. We just need to be normal. We don't need to do anything incredible.
I'll be real. Now, I obviously, of course, am a Knicks fan, but I'm trying to approach, especially when I do 40 days and counting, trying to give, credit and coverage to both teams effectively here. But just as a basketball fan, I hate this approach. If I was a Spurs fan, I kind of would not love the way this team is talking. I thought Victor's comments after game 1 read dismissive in a way that was a little naive, because this is the NBA Finals. This is a different level of basketball than the Western Conference Finals, the semifinals, first round, or any basketball you've played, including, gold medal is important to him. So I don't know about the gold medal game because it was in France and a lot was going on, but But I would even also include the Olympics. Like, this is truly the best of the best. These are teams that have played together for almost 100 games that are now playing for one goal. This is not a bunch of stars coming together for a summer, right? It's different. It's even different than the Olympics. So the level of play, the level of strategy, everything is heightened to a different degree. The disposition that we just got to just kind of play our game or just be ourselves or be normal. We don't have to change much. I don't think it speaks to, I think, you not quite understanding what you're up against. And I don't mean up against it's necessarily the opponent, because the opponent doesn't matter. It's the effort it takes to win an NBA championship. I really feel like somebody who I think has done a great job of describing this is Richard Jefferson, to give him his credit. Like, I think he has said that, like, to win an NBA championship, you have to push yourself past exhaustion. The intensity of these moments, to play with that level of physicality, speed, again, effort, while also having the precision to make shots and make plays and execute. It is basketball of the highest degree. For Vic and for Steph to kind of look at this like, well, if we just kind of just be ourselves, we'll be fine. I kind of know what they're saying, but I still think that if I'm Mitch Johnson, I'm putting in these guys' heads, yes, don't make this moment bigger than it is, but also understand that you're going to have to play your best games to win. It's just the facts. I don't care if you think that the Knicks aren't as good as the Thunder or aren't as good as teams in the West. It doesn't. This is the NBA Finals. That team on the other side is going to give, unless they're a bunch of losers and suckers, and really it doesn't. You don't get NBA Finals teams that are losers. They're going to be playing with 150% effort. Whatever you think of them talent-wise, they're going to be as well scouted against us and playing with as high an effort as possible. If we are going to win, we are going to have to play at a super, super high level with super, super high effort. So all of this, like, too cool for school stuff that the Spurs are promoting in this midway between game 1 and game 2, I don't like it, man. I really don't like it. Now, all players are different, all teams are different. And the reality is maybe this needs to be a loose team that feels very confident and perhaps maybe even brushes on overconfidence. Maybe that's what they need to do in order to be great. Every team is different. So I'm not saying that, oh, this means they're going to lose a series or that they're definitely approaching this wrong. I know I don't like it, and I would not like it if my team was approaching the NBA Finals this way. This idea that all we have to do is play quote-unquote normal or just show up and that we're the better team. It feels like you feel like if you show up, you'll win. And you lost game 1. And another aspect about this, too, and maybe some of this is maybe diving a little too much into this, but this idea that, oh, we didn't even play well, we almost won, and, we're right there, and we played a support game. The idea that they think that was anywhere close to Knicks' A game also is pretty silly to me. I mean, you really think you're going to get, another... And I don't know if this is going to be a great Mikal Bridges series, but you really think you're going to get another 4-point game from Mikal Bridges or whatever he had? Like, there are a lot of performances offensively from the Knicks, given how they've been playing offensively, that I don't think you can just assume is going to continue. You think the Knicks are still going to shoot 11 for 36 from 3, 31%? And for a while, they were under 31% in this game. I mean, some of these numbers, I'm like, you're like that. You think that this is going to be the baseline of what the Knicks are going to be able to do? Yeah, if you think that that's all they're going to be able to do, shoot around 40% and 30 from 3, yeah, you probably feel like, listen, we show up, we'll win. That was not the best Knicks game. I think both teams, I don't think, played their best game. So I think, again, if I'm Knicks, I feel great. I'm like, good. If they think that they're fine and everything's okay, they don't got to adjust much, and they just got to play normal, quote unquote, like, I would feel great about that, because this was a team I thought that got out hustled, that got out muscled, that lost the game where a lot of it came down to who wanted it more. And that's what the NBA Finals is about. So this whole just be ourselves, be normal, don't be a hero kind of thing. And I get that standpoint. Like, you don't want guys to play outside of themselves. But you see the guys, the way they're fighting on that other side, the toughness of that team. I would be a little concerned about the Spurs' disposition coming into game 2. And I think this is going to be another close game. I don't think this is going to be another blowout. I don't think, or this one wasn't a blowout, but I don't think this is going to be a game where the Knicks kind of say, okay, we won game 2, that's it. We've seen this is a team that is very greedy. They had multiple times in this playoffs where they could have resting on their laurels and knowing that they had a game in the bag. They can go back home. We saw in games 4 against Cleveland and game 4 against Philly. Those are games where, teams in a closeout situation, it's not the same as this, but the Spurs will be desperate tonight. We've seen in those situations where the Knicks could have said, okay, if we lose this game, fine. We go back to the Garden, we beat these guys, gentlemen sweep, and move on. Knicks have been a team that's shown to be greedy, despite getting the first game on the road. So if the Spurs, that's another reason why I feel the Spurs, I think you got to be very careful about thinking that you guys just kind of have this thing in the bag as long as you just show up to win. So game 2 is tonight. I expect a very close game. I kind of think the Knicks are going to win tonight. I don't know why. I had the series going 6. It doesn't mean that, I think they're going to lose the game at home. Like I've said, I think the Knicks are a better road team than a home team. So it doesn't mean that the series won't go 6. I think it's going to be maybe a weird series where teams are winning games in weird spots. But I think the Knicks will actually win game 2. One other aspect about this game I think is going to be interesting is how the Spurs are going to play down the stretch. Because one of the storylines down the stretch of this game was the fact that the most effective player offensively for them was probably Dylan Harper, and he was not on the floor. Dylan Harper is saying all the right things, but how he's approaching social media, maybe not so much. But here's Dylan Harper when he was asked about it yesterday.
Yeah, I feel like everyone wants to be out there in those times and to close the game out. But, we won 62 games. We made it this far. So, I'm going to keep on trusting in the coaching staff, trusting in Mitch, and just having that trust, that they know what's best for the team. And if they think that's the best thing for the team and that helps us win the most, then I'm all for it.
So that's the right answer, and there's nothing wrong with that answer. I think there's reason to wonder if Dylan Harper should have been in the game. He was the guy the Knicks were having the toughest time to guard. There's a tricky aspect of how the Spurs are built, where if you have him in the game, you want Stephen Castle's defense, so he has to be out there on the floor. And what we've seen is when it's been Castle and Harper alone in the backcourt late in games, at least we saw it with the Thunder. While they won game 1, they were a turnover machine as a backcourt together, especially Stephon Castle, when he has to orchestrate the offense. So it's a tricky thing where it's like, okay, we're going to take Fox off the floor when he's our best floor general. We'll put in these 2 young guards, but that's where maybe we get the most turnover-prone play we have. We're not as buttoned up offensively. Or we could try to just keep Fox out there, play 3 point guards, but then probably lose the kind of spacing you would want. Harper, as talented as he is, his 3-point shot still isn't that reliable. Stephon Castle, 3-point shot, not that reliable. Those guys aren't floor spacers. So now you only got one, and Fox he can make shots, but he's not really a floor spacer. So now you only got one position outside of Wemby to have a true floor spacer on the floor when they probably want to have 2. You want to have probably Champagnie and Vassell. Now you only have opportunity to only play 1. So it's a tough conundrum for Mitch Johnson. It's not easy. Now, I think, just in terms of, again, the game I was watching, and I'm watching it from a Knicks lens, I felt a lot more comfortable with the Knicks having us trying to stop De'Aaron Fox down the stretch than they would have if Dylan Harper had the ball in his hands, just because of how he played. He was the guy, again, that was tough as a guard. What we have not seen yet in this series, I wonder if we see some in game 2, is I wonder if we see some of OG Anunoby guarding Dylan Harper. Dylan Harper came out and he was guns blazing. He was awesome in that first game. And, the Knicks made the decision to put OG on Fox, which was very fascinating. This is what they did in the NBA Cup game. But that was the only game they really did it. They played 3 times in the regular season. They put him on him for the NBA Cup game. But the other 2 games, one game there was a lot of injuries. He ended up guarding Wemby. We have not seen that yet, which is interesting. And then the 3rd game they played, the blowout when they had in March, he also was guarding Wemby a lot. It was kind of him and Cat in a mixed bag. He wasn't guarding Fox really. So they went with him on Fox, which I thought was interesting. I wasn't sure they'd go that way, and it worked. I mean, Fox was awful. Now, Fox is dealing with an ankle injury. We know he's not 100%, and maybe that has something to do with it. But OG just erased him. I wonder, though, if, given how banged up Fox is, if the Knicks play with fire and say, hey, listen, we think Mikal Bridges can handle Fox if he needs to, or even a Landry Shamet. We'll take our chances with that, and let's see if we can get OG on Harper and just take him away. Also, I think putting OG on Harper, I think, would be an interesting adjustment too, because OG was very effective off the ball, digging on Victor Wembanyama. He was able to get him on a couple of turnovers. Sometimes it was actually, stealing the ball or getting a deflection. Sometimes I think it's just him being in the area and just messing with Victor's handle from a help position. I think caused some turnovers. If you put him on Harper, he can leave his man even more, right? Fox is a better shooter, so he's not a guy that you're just staying attached to completely, but he's a guy that you can't just leave wide open. I don't want to say you leave Harper wide open, but I feel more comfortable. I feel more comfortable with him taking wide open jump shots than De'Aaron Fox. So I actually think OG could probably roam a little better if he's actually guarding Harper, while also, again, of course, being the best guy probably suited to guard him on the ball. But the interesting thing about the Harper comments there, which were good comments that were totally fine and make sense and the right thing to say, wasn't quite the disposition on social media. Because I saw last night that Harper, when on TikTok apparently, decided to repost a video that was disparaging the play of De'Aaron Fox. It was a reshare. And listen, I'll be the first to say these apps got too many damn buttons. One of the things that's been killing me of late, like X has added a dislike button. I don't even know what it does because I don't actually see dislikes actually mounting up when I if you click it by accident. But multiple times when I've wanted to actually like videos or I don't know what I'm trying to do, I will click the dislike button on people that have commented on my videos that agree with me, and I'm like, oh no, I like that. I don't like that. I like that you said that I'm the smart basketball mind, or let's go Knicks. And I've clicked the dislike button by accident, and I don't know how to take it back. So I'll give him some grain of salt, I guess. But I mean, the fact that he reposted a video that was titled "De'Aaron Fox seen honoring James Harden after shooting one of his stat lines" seems very strange. Could you like something or repost something by accident? Sure. I would wonder why that would come up on his algorithm, to be honest. I know he's a basketball algorithm, so maybe it makes sense, but you would think it'd be a lot of positive Spurs spin and not something that's very disparaging. Who knows? But it was something that he reposted. He said all the right things in the press conference, so maybe he felt a different way. But I do think that's going to be a storyline to watch in this game. Is how much does he play down the stretch in this one, because he was awesome. And he's somebody that I think a lot of NBA fans are starting to really become familiar with, to be like, hey, listen, as great as Wimpy is, this 20-year-old rookie is not playing like a rookie. I mean, he can go. He can absolutely go. You see why he's the number 2 pick in the draft. You see why he was ballyhooed as a top prospect, despite Rutgers not winning a ton of games. Dylan Harper has all the goods. And I'll be curious to see how effective he is in Game 2 and how much he'll be willing to maybe have the ball in his hands late in the game if we are seeing another close game here. So Game 2 tonight, again, I'm leaning another Knicks close win. One of the things I said before the series was I felt like in these tight, close games, I trust the Knicks to be able to get into more of the shots that they want rather than the Spurs. Or rather, well, yeah, pretty much. Because we know the ball's going to Brunson. And Brunson is so great down the stretch. He's so good in the clutch. And he's so good at getting his shot in those situations. Where the Spurs, I don't think, really have an identity of what they're trying to get to in the clutch. Doesn't mean they can't win games in the clutch. They won 2 big games in the clutch against OKC. But I just think when you know yourself a little better than the other team in those crunch time moments, you have an advantage. And then when that identity is a fourth quarter scorer whose numbers rival Michael Jordan, and I'm not being facetious or not embellishing, that's the truth. That's a pretty good identity to lean on, which is what the Knicks are doing right now with how Jalen Brunson is playing. So Game 2 tonight should be a lot of fun. This has been a crazy series. Some of this has included not just the basketball. We saw a fan run on the court in what was weird for a lot of reasons. Number one, are we just showing fans who run on the court now or field now? ESPN just showed it. There used to be a protocol as long as I can remember watching sports. And the biggest one I remember, the first one I really, really remember when I was a kid, I want to say it was a Super Bowl with the Panthers versus the Patriots. So this is like 03. It's the 03 season. It's the Super Bowl, technically 04 in February, I guess. But that season. I want to say it was Teddy Bruschi. But I remember they stayed on a close-up shot of Teddy Bruschi for what felt like 30 seconds. And I was so confused. I was like, first, it seemed like a cool shot. I was like, "Ooh, that's a cool shot." Teddy Bruschi's eyes, he's focused. And and they kind of got lucky because Teddy's eyes didn't like wander or anything or whatever was going on in the field. He seemed very focused. But I was like, they're on the shot for a long time. And they're kind of meandering. They're kind of just talking about nonsense. They didn't actually refer to what was going on. And it wasn't until like you read the papers the next day that you realized, oh, there was a streaker. Like somebody ran out there and they were wearing like a thong. I think it was a man. They were wearing like a thong. They ran out there and, you know, the protocol is not to show people who run on the court or run on the field. Like, you know, you don't give them that attention so it doesn't make people feel like they can get on TV in this way. ESPN just showed this idiot. Like this idiot ran on the court. He's trying to get a selfie with Wemby. It was hilarious because he's trying to get this selfie. Wemby, he's just like cheesing for the selfie. He's like, oh, hey. He's like looking for the camera. Mitchell Robinson's face on the tweet that I now posted must have, at this point, probably 4,000 likes. I did not think this would go this kind of viral. The look on it, the best word that someone described in one of the quote tweets of my post talking about how Mitchell Robinson's face was absolutely killing me. And every time I watch it, I still laugh. He was flabbergasted. He had no idea what was going on. He looked so confused. He's looking at the camera like, what is this guy doing? Crazy moment. So, yeah, that incident. That guy we learned yesterday has been banned. Him and someone else. I guess there was a tandem that I didn't realize. They have been banned for life from all NBA arenas. So if you think you're going to be an idiot and try to do what this guy did, you're going to be banned for life. So I don't know if you want to do that. Also, you spent however much money you made to, and that's what you not made. How much money you spent to go to that game, considering how good his seats were, probably $10,000. And that's what you did. I would have rather sold those tickets and got the money than do that. But I can't explain Gen Z. So that guy got banned. Then you have another incident that's been talked about a little bit, which has been this incident towards later in the game that is not being investigated with Jalen Brunson and a fan. So some eagle-eyed people going to one of the sidecasts of ESPN have been able to identify some of this exchange with Jalen Brunson, and it looks like a older man and a blonde-haired older woman sitting what is essentially at the scorer's table. They have some of these weird arenas where they'll allow basically fans to the scorer's table. It's a weird seat to have. But he's sitting at what essentially is a scorer's table. And Brunson's going back and forth with this fan. Scott Forster is there. It didn't look like Scott Forster did a lot to defuse it, which was, maybe we can talk about him. I think Jalen Brunson had issues with Scott Forster all night. Between the fouls, between a lot of different things. He got through it. But man, that was a rough night for Jalen in many ways. But Foster's there. He's kind of reacting to it. Some other fans are reacting to it. And Jalen Brunson, as a whistle, the final horn buzzard, he's talking to the referee again about what happened. And the guy's there, or the people are there, and then he starts drawing back at them again. He has to be pulled away from the incident. The NBA is now investigating what they had said was allegedly vulgar comments being made by the fan in regards to flopping. Which, first of all, get a life, dude. Like, Jalen Brunson in that game, you want to talk about flopping. There was no flopping. First of all, he kicked your team's ass. I think he only took 2 free throws in the game. In fact, your own star defensive player, Stephon Castle, after the game, or this was actually yesterday, this was before practice, when he was asked about, like, what's the difference between guarding Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Jalen Brunson? You know what he said? It's a lot less trying to draw fouls guarding Jalen Brunson than Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. So, a guy who his one job the entire series of last year was to guard the reigning MVP, and all this conversation about flopping we've had, who confirms that he does feel like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander absolutely is flopping and looking for calls. He says the thing about Jalen Brunson that stands out is how much he is not trying to get draw fouls. So this idiot clearly doesn't even know basketball to be trying to make a comment about flopping. But I also know that when you're a fan, you yell stuff, you're trying to just get in guys' heads or whatever. But, I mean, I always say this. I'm not going to, yum your yams, is that the saying, right? Or whatever, or tell you how to eat or whatever. I just think if you're a heckler, I don't know, I think you're kind of a loser. I'll be real. Like, I think, and it's, if you're at the Garden, same thing. Like, I think there's a line, obviously, right? And I think, a funny comment here, a funny comment there, that's one thing. I think when you're like, say, I'm gonna make directed, vulgar comments, personal comments at this person, I think you're an absolute loser. Like, of the highest degree. I'm like, just shut up and watch the game. Like, cheer for your team, boo, yell. Yeah, yell, like, oh, you suck, Brunson. Like, those things are fine. I think when you start saying, I'm going to get creative and I'm going to think about, like, how to say something about his family or his upbringing. Like what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? You are a fat slob sitting in your seats, probably because you got inheritance or you probably, you probably got away with some white-collar crime and that's why you got your money. And you think that you're going to be somebody by yelling at Jalen Brunson or yelling at Victor Wembanyama if it's on the other side. I just think it's stupid. I never have understood it. I've personally gone to games and I've heard vulgar, I've heard racist comments in stands. Like, I've heard terrible things. I'm like, what is wrong with you people? So, and hopefully this guy gets banned. Apparently, this is not a guy a lot of fans like anyway. He seems to be kind of an a-hole from what I've seen on social media. This is not the first time he's had incidents with other fans and stuff. So we'll see whatever happens with this guy. He may also be in some trouble. Listen, he was sitting like courtside. He may have some strings he can pull to make sure he don't get banned, I guess. But what are you doing saying vulgar comments to Jalen Brunson? Especially, and this was after he already, like, the game was already, like, over. Like, this is after he hits the fadeaway bump. Should have been an N1 shot on Vassell. That was insane. That kind of put the Knicks ahead for good. And they're taking the ball out. They're already up 6. Like, the game is kind of over. This is the time where you're, like, going to say something vulgar. Like, how are you going to get in his head when the game's already over? It's just a moronic thing. I think people who decide they're going to be hecklers at sporting events are morons. I can't stand them. They make it uncomfortable for everybody else in the crowd. Like, they make it about themselves. It is something that I despise in my sporting thing. The person in the crowd who makes it about themselves. I remember I was at a WrestleMania. This was the one in New York, the last one in New York. I don't remember I think it's 33. I don't remember what number it was. Something like that. 33, 34, something around there. And we weren't even sitting that close. We were for like contact purposes at MetLife. I think that stadium goes up to 400 sections. We were in the 300 section. So below the upper deck, but not near the stadium. And like there's some idiot who's just yelling unfunny things throughout the entire night as like a heckler where there's no chance anybody around the ring or anyone can hear him, and he's just yelling nonsense throughout the entire night. And then eventually somebody tells him, "Hey man, you want to shut the F up?" Because it's New Jersey, and somebody sitting there was not gonna take it. It's funny as a POC in those instances when certain folks are acting a certain way, you kind of just say, listen, just smile and nod and just look away. You don't want to be in a crazy situation. So I was just ignoring it. Me and my brothers were. But some Jersey dude was not going to take it. And somebody told you want to shut the F up. And then they're starting to get into it. Luckily, there was no fisticuffs or anything like that. But I'm like, I had no problem with that guy telling that guy to shut up. Because, like, man, come on, man. Like, we want to come here. We watching wrestling. I didn't come here to, like, hear you make stupid comments about Shane McMahon growing up in Connecticut. Like, I don't, like, no one wants to hear that. No one wants to hear that. And I just despise hecklers. Say a funny comment, yell you suck, or yeah, you can't shoot. Like, okay, something, like, fine. That's fine. The whole, I'm going to just keep going, and I'm going to go as low as I could possibly go to get a reaction out of you guy. You are an absolute sucker. You are a loser. You are a clown, and you are a bozo. And it's part of sports. I'm not gonna ban it. I'm not even suggest you ban it. But I think maybe this is just a PSA for people who think about wanting to be hecklers. Don't. I don't think you're also making much of a difference in the game. That's my random rant today on hecklers. But this incident is being investigated. I have not seen any updates on it yet as of this morning, but that was announced yesterday. And Jalen Brunson declined to comment when he was asked about it after. I don't know if it was before after practice when they did their press conference, but when they had their media availability yesterday, Jalen Brunson said he would not comment on the incident. Going over to Major League Baseball, man, big news out of Major League Baseball. Aaron Judge, who had been out for a couple of days as the Yankees was trying to figure out what was wrong with him. He had been struggling at the plate mightily in the last few weeks, and it was kind of unclear why, but he was dealing with some pain when he was swinging that forced the Yankees to want him to get reevaluated to see what was going on. There was some fears that he could have a condition that could send him out the rest of the season, and those were, luckily for them, avoided because he does not have this condition that I'm trying to figure out the name of it again. Oh, thoracic outlet diagnosis, which if he had that, would have sidelined Aaron Judge for the entire season. That is not what he has. He has a fractured rib, a stress fracture in his first rib. He'll be out 4 to 6 weeks, and then he'll be reevaluated to see kind of where he goes from there. So the Yankees actually dodged a major bullet, right? Because if he has this thoracic outlet diagnosis, that would be devastating. He's out for the year, and the Yankee season more or less would be over. Like, they could certainly still make the playoffs without him, I think, but winning a World Series, that would seem very hard to believe unless they made some insane trade that I can't foresee. I don't know who it would be for, but they made some move that we unforesee. You can't replace Aaron Judge's, not just his actual production, but also his impact on the lineup, just him being his presence in the lineup. So 4 to 6 weeks, it's tough to hear because now you're talking about probably not seeing him until August, but it's still the best case scenario, probably, given what they were looking at as a possible issue with him moving forward in this season. What I will say is it's kind of a twofold thing for me with this. I feel like if you talk about just this season, I actually think, weirdly enough, this Yankee team is actually built pretty well to withstand an Aaron Judge injury where he's out for 2 months. The offensive lineup has not necessarily been that deep or that great per se, but though they have had great seasons out of Ben Rice and out of Cody Bellinger. And those guys, I think, are legit. So I don't think those guys, their production is going to crater because Aaron Judge is not in the lineup, and that's going to help them. But the offense is not going to be, obviously, nearly as good, especially since Giancarlo Stanton is out. But I do think that the team's pitching staff, which is certainly elite, and now has Garrett Cole, who is, it seems like he's pitching at a Cy Young level. If the guy had, Tommy John surgery, he's come back, he's throwing hard, he's throwing deep into games. He looks fine. He looks like a guy that was not injured. So you add him to a rotation that already has Schlittler, that already has Fried, that already has Ryan Weathers, who's pitched pretty well for them this year. Like, they are fine. Like, their pitching staff is fine. Their pitching staff is going to keep them in games, and they'll have enough offense to win. So we've seen other seasons when Aaron Judge has gotten hurt and the Yankees just basically can't win ball games. Like, their team just completely collapses. I don't expect that to happen. I expect the Yankees actually to play okay baseball for the duration of this injury, and when he'll come back, maybe they're not in first place, but I think they'll be still squarely in the hunt in the division, and they'll certainly be in the playoff spot. Because the reality too is the American League, it's the JV league. I've said it all year. Like, the American League, I don't trust it. I don't feel like there's a lot of high end talent. There still aren't too many teams that are separating themselves. We've seen a great start to the season for the Tampa Bay Rays. They have lost 3 in a row, and they lost, they've lost 8 out of 10, so they're struggling a little bit. They still have a little bit of a lead over the Yankees, but that's only down to a half game. I don't know how much I trust the Rays. We haven't seen anyone else in that division rise up. It does feel like the Blue Jays are dealing with a little bit of a World Series hangover. Central's been a little bit of a fist fight. West, no teams above 4 games over 500. So it's been a struggle in the American League. So I think the Yankees will be okay in terms of the standings. So that part of it is good. He'll be back in August. They say that he expects him to return at some point this season. So as long as he comes back, he's relatively healthy. He's Aaron Judge. All your hopes of trying to win a World Series and all those things are very much still in play. So that's the good news for the Yankees. What I think is the bad news, though, is something that I've alluded to in probably when I've done some of these shows, but also when I did 40 Days Encounter. Or excuse me, when I do my shows with WFAN. By the way, I'm live on WFAN this weekend as well. I'll be on Saturday into Sunday morning, midnight Saturday into Sunday morning, 5 a.m. The Yankees missed the Aaron Judge window. the Aaron Judge of him being one of the greatest hitters of all time, him putting up these, cartoonish like offensive numbers, that was their window of finding Aaron Judge in the prime of his career and being able to dominate, right? Like, they missed that moment. Like, he's 34 years old. We've already seen some nagging injuries pop up every now and then. He's not a guy that's necessarily, he's been healthy the last 2 or 3 years, but he's not someone who's always been able to get through seasons without dealing with some kind of injury. As he gets older, this is the kind of thing that's going to come up. You're going to have fractured ribs, this and that. Like, this is the kind of thing he's going to deal with. Which, it just heightens the missed opportunity I think the Yankees had during what I think now we can say was his prime. I don't like Aaron Judge. He is trying to go for another, 3-time MVP, 3-time 50 home run season. All those things are gone, and I just wonder in terms of just his age and where he's at in his career if you could really bank on those kind of numbers anymore. Not necessarily in terms of skill; those skills are going to be a part of it, but also just health and age, and just knowing that your body is going to decline when you get to the kind of age Aaron Judge is at. It does not mean they cannot win a World Series still, because he is still a superstar. He's still one of the best players in baseball, and there's 27 men on the roster, so they have other opportunities to build team guys around him. And I think the Yankees have done a pretty good job with the team they've put, so they're going to have a shot this year. But I think it does highlight that you had Aaron Judge at his absolute peak of his powers, and any day that goes by since those years, he's going to go further and further away from those, and it speaks to just whether it was the teams they built around him or his own postseason failures. They missed an opportunity, I think, with Aaron Judge in his prime. Because this is what I had feared, is that you're entering the end of his prime and injuries will mount up and other things are going to pop up. He won't be able to be the kind of impactful 150 game kind of player and a guy who will be reliable in terms of knowing that he's going to be in the lineup every day. It's just sports. It's just how the body works. And also maybe interesting to kind of know how the Yankees move forward with him. It looked like it's kind of hard to tell when he got hurt. They're not saying when he got hurt, but I saw what looked like a pretty good guess from someone online where he had a great crash into the wall against Baltimore at Yankee Stadium. And he came up. He definitely seemed to be laboring a little bit. But his OPS before that was over 1,000. His OPS since then is like around 690. Feels like that could be the time when he got hurt, especially because we've been hearing so much of this rib injury affecting his swing, because that's when he's been feeling the pain. Again, him playing the outfield, him crashing the walls, like those are things that are going to happen. But as he gets older, you do wonder, like, do you limit some of his time out in the outfield? Is he going to play? I mean, he basically plays out there exclusively. They don't DH him that much. These are all things that they're going to have real conversations about as he enters next year. Going to be his age 35 season. These are real things if you want to keep him healthy that I think are things to consider. Moving forward, we have the end of a career of Russell Wilson, who officially retired from the NFL. He posted a video thanking the fans, thanking his family, and officially closing the chapter on his NFL career. We heard earlier in the week that he was finalizing the deal to join NFL on CBS, their pregame show. That now is official. That is happening. But we've seen guys say I'm going to TV, but not necessarily say they're retiring. Russell Wilson has made it an official retirement. So he retires. There are plenty of really gaudy numbers that you can point to him. He hit 10 Pro Bowls. I think only him, Peyton Manning, and one other guy are the only guys that start their careers with, I think, 30 touchdowns, I think, in each of their first 3 seasons or something like that. The numbers will tell you that Russell Wilson is a short ballot Hall of Famer. He won a Super Bowl. He was not the MVP in the Super Bowl, but it was a blowout win. Anybody could have been world. Honestly, they could have picked anybody on that Seahawks team the way they threw out the Broncos in that game. He does have a Super Bowl, a Mount Rushmore Super Bowl low moment, which was the interception at the goal line. That I still think gets talked about more as a great play by Malcolm Butler, and more of a blunder by Pete Carroll than it is like a Russell Wilson play. But he did throw the interception, so it's a massive play when you talk about his legacy and his career. But I'll be curious what time does for Russell Wilson's legacy. Because I think when he left Seattle, I don't feel like there was any doubt that he was going to the Hall of Fame. Whether you thought he was corny, whether you thought he was weird, whether you didn't like him, or whatever your issue was with him, I think you just looked at the totality of the numbers and success that this guy's probably on the Hall of Fame. But those years in Denver that were certainly not to his standard for sure. And I know like this is the end of his career, but this Giant thing was terrible for the couple games he played. It was awful. I do think it's made people kind of want to open the door more into like a conversation about whether or not he actually is a Hall of Famer. I'm here to have any conversation because one of the rules I do in any show, as I always say on the fan, is I'm ducking no smoke. I'm not here to make the case that or fight the fight that Russell Wilson somehow shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. Like if you want to make that fight, like I'll listen, but I'm really not trying to hear it. I guess like he again 10 Pro Bowls. I don't know. It's a bunch of 4,000-yard seasons. So, a lot of times there's been an idea that he's also been like described as like a bus rider. You don't throw for 4,000 yards as a bus rider. I don't know if he's the driver. The defense in Seattle was elite, but he was more than just a bus driver. A bus rider. He was at the very least a bus superintendent or something. He was something important when it came to making sure that bus got to where it needed to go. He was somebody that he has a 40 touchdown season. He doesn't have an MVP. He doesn't have many All-Pros, but the way I always thought about the way I think about the Hall of Fame, and this is how other people can feel differently or whatever, but my thought process was when you were playing in the prime of your career, A, was it long enough to have this conversation, but B, when you were there, when you were playing, did I consider you one of the best players at your position or the best players in your league? Pretty simple. If I thought you were just okay or you were pretty good, that makes me kind of pause, right? Like one of the cases that I've lost in terms of Hall of Fame, which is a different sport and probably a higher standard, is the Mike Mussina Hall of Fame case. Like Mike Mussina, I believe he's in the Hall of Fame if I remember correctly. That was a big fight for some people. And a lot of folks, with baseball is weird. A lot of sabermetrics come in. Yes, he is a Hall of Famer. A lot of sabermetrics come in that have, changed the dialogue for people. I watched Mike Mussina in the prime of his career. I watched him play. Obviously, he was a Yankee for a long time. I never felt like I was watching a Hall of Famer. I felt like I was watching a very good pitcher. I felt like I was watching a gamer. I felt like I was watching somebody that could win big games. He was a very good postseason pitcher for the Yankees. I never thought I was watching a Hall of Famer. I'm just being real. That's what I felt. So when you do well, let's look at the war and let's look at this from a different microscope. When you do that thing, I'm like, I kind of lose. It's kind of eye wash for me. I'm like, now we're talking about things that I'm not saying they're not true because they add more context, but sometimes things are simple. I'm like, I watched Mike Mussina. He was a very, very good pitcher. I didn't think I was watching a Hall of Famer. I think he was right below that. But I lost that fight. It's not a big deal to me. Mike Mussina's great. If he's in the Hall of Fame, cool. I think that's great for the sport. Like, in many ways, I think the more the merrier for Hall of Fames, but I do think also, keeping high standards is great. With Russell Wilson, in his prime, I thought I was watching a Hall of Famer. Like, I didn't think, I'm watching some guy that's just okay. Like, I thought I was watching one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, playing on one of the best teams. You want to talk about winning. The team won constantly when he was there. I'm surprised that, it's even become a question about whether or not he should go to the Hall of Fame. I think there's only 7 quarterbacks in the history of the NFL that have made 10 Pro Bowls, and he's one of them. There are some numbers for him just in terms of how his career ended that, to me, should make this a no-brainer. I almost feel like the only reason, and I think he'll get in, to be clear. I don't think this will be as complicated as maybe we've made it out to be. But I think because of so much of the dialogue from some of his former teammates, right? We've seen Richard Sherman and so many guys have been so negative against him. And then again, how bad things went in Denver and Sean Payton coming in and showing just only disrespect to him. His football image has been up for being a piñata for the last couple of years. I think it's actually distorted who he actually was. Their memory of him has been distorted by the last few years of, hey, Legion of Boom guys say, hey, he actually wasn't as good a leader as you think he was, and he kind of was a jerk. Also, remember how good we were and how good our defenses were, and that was really why we won. And then Sean Payton being like, this guy sucks, and I can't do anything with this guy. Get him out of here as he's in the end of his career. Those things I think have distorted who he actually was. Again, some of these numbers that I saw, again, Peyton Manning and Dan Marino, only quarterbacks to throw for at least 20 touchdown passes in each of their first 3 seasons. And again, he is only one of 7 quarterbacks to be selected to 10 Pro Bowls. Russell Wilson is also the only player in NFL history with at least 30 touchdown passes and fewer than 15 interceptions in 4 straight seasons. He's also had 3 seasons with at least 30 touchdown passes and 500 rushing yards, which is the most in NFL history. I mean, he was like, when you played the Seahawks, you had to deal with him. Like, yes, stopping beast mode was huge, but he was a dual threat. He was able to run, so he had to deal with his running game. He was definitely accurate as a passer. And again, he threw for 4,000 yards in multiple seasons, so he certainly could throw the rock. I mean, he's got a great resume. I don't know what the conversation is. I don't know what the issue is. I think with Russell Wilson, as I've said before, I feel like there are a lot of people who are like jealous of his life. I think they look at him and they look at a guy who they're like, this is the guy that, like, in high school I used to bully, or this is the guy in high school that I used to make fun of. And a lot of people who maybe peaked in high school look at Russell Wilson as somebody easy to dislike, because like that guy who, talks weird and maybe isn't the smoothest, he shouldn't have Sierra. He shouldn't be an NFL quarterback. He shouldn't be an NFL superstar. And he's an easy punching bag. I think a lot of those people need to get a life. Like, I think, like, get over yourself. Like, it's so weird how people talk about him. He's funny, and I mean, and funny in the sense that, yeah, he can be a little goofy, he can be a little awkward. Yeah, like, I mean, it does sound like there were some issues with how he approached his job with Seattle in terms of how he related to his teammates. Yeah, that's a real thing. Like, I wouldn't discredit Russell Wilson, Richard Sherman or Marshawn Lynch or any of those guys in terms of how Russell didn't do a lot to really make himself, a part of the team, or make himself, one of the guys. I just don't think that's a reason to keep him out of the Hall of Fame or think less of him as a player. Like, I think if you're going to say a guy, players, superstars who didn't feel like one of the guys, then get in line. There are so many guys throughout the history of all sports where you're like, oh, great player, but as a leader, he was whatever. My thing about leadership, though, is, hey, did he leave it all in line on Sundays? Did he ensure that he wasn't a distraction week to week? Did he ensure that he wasn't setting a bad example for other guys in terms of work ethic and things like that? If he wasn't, then what are we talking about? Okay, he didn't give you his phone number, or he didn't work out with you, or he didn't he made you talk to his agent before you could talk to him. Like, these are things that just feel like it feels a little harsh to say this, but it almost feels like a little character assassination. I'm like, what are we doing? Like, these are things I don't care about. I don't care about this stuff at all. Like, maybe I care about it if it was in the moment. Like, if Russell Wilson, if people had these issues with him while he was there, and they made it more pronounced while he was there. We kind of heard it more towards the end of his time in Seattle, ironically. But, yeah, that would have made bigger waves when it was happening. But once it's already happened, and we already know the result, you won a Super Bowl, you were one of the best teams in the NFC, it didn't seem like it kept you for anything. Like, Russell Wilson not being, a close enough friend to Richard Sherman is not the reason why they lost the Patriots Super Bowl. They lost the Patriots Super Bowl because their head coach made a dumb decision. It's really, again, it's the head coach's fault more than anything else. Like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm a fan of Russell Wilson. I feel like I've been in this weird position to defend him because I think it's become derangement syndrome in terms of how people talk about what he was when he was in his prime. Which, when he was in his prime, he was one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Where did he rank? I don't know, top 7, top 8. He played in a golden era of quarterbacks. So to say he wasn't all pro or wasn't top 2 or 3, that's not a fair litmus test for whether or not he was a natural Hall of Famer. So I think he gets in. This TV game's gonna help, by the way. I think that's one of the main reasons why he's doing it. I think it's, like I said before, this soft launch of Russell Wilson's career being a TV guy or a personality post, I think started when he was playing. I said it before. I was like, him taking them shots at Sean Payton, him doing these podcasts, talking about his relationship with Sean Payton, his issues. I felt like that was him bat signaling to TV networks hey, I know you guys think that I'm this like robot who's very nice and very polite and like could certainly be on TV just because he's polite, well spoken, and whatever, but doesn't give you anything. Like he's never gonna cause controversy. He's never gonna get in the mud. He's never gonna say anything interesting. Like those guys can get on TV, but they may not stay on TV because audiences will think that they're boring. I think that was his bat signal to say, hey, no, I can get in this mud a little bit. I'll get a little spicy. I'll say this about that guy or that about that guy. I'll get into this media game, and I'm willing to play that game. I thought that was his bat signal to him saying, hey, listen, I can actually do this thing. Because the reality is, if you're going to get into the media game, and I always say this is the most authentic version of the show, so I give you guys a lot of game. Like, you got to have something to say. Like, it's, shout out to my mentor, Spike Eskin. I used to have a very long conversation with him just about, like, what it takes to do this, right? And, he's very frank. He's very real, which is why I like him, why he's my guy, and why, I'm still indebted to him. But he's like, the truth of the matter is, like, you can get a big name, you can get somebody who was a star, you can even get somebody who maybe when they played was someone who said a lot of things. But, like, in order to do this, you actually have to have strong opinions, and you have to actually have things to say. He's like, there are so many people who, in theory, may sound like a great person to put on television or put on the radio, but then you realize that, they're actually not a person who actually has a lot to say about the things that are happening in sports or in the world. Like, they don't have that many opinions. They don't have that many thoughts. And as nice a person as they can be, as well-spoken as they can be, if they don't have a lot of thoughts or opinions, then it doesn't really matter. You got to have something to say at the end of the day. And it sounds easy. Like, for you listening at home or watching at home, like, it may sound like, oh, that's easy. Like, get on the mic and just start talking. It's not easy. You have to actually really think about what your opinion is on things and be able to actually articulate them in a way. And also, it has to be something that is, of course, you're never faking taste, but it's got to be something that's an interesting thought, too. It can't simply just be, I'm trying to think of something very baseline. I think Shohei Ohtani's really good. It's like, okay, everyone thinks Shohei Ohtani is really good. What about Shohei Ohtani? Do you think that is interesting? What can you say about him that is interesting? And that takes real. Some people just aren't cut out for it. I am the kind of person that I just have a lot of opinions on things. So this is what in many ways, I feel like I was built to do because I'm someone who's very opinionated, and I'm not someone who always just thinks, kind of along the grain of what most people think. To use my friend Andrew Perloff, sometimes I do think against the grain on a lot of things, which is why I think this is great for me. Some people aren't. And just because you're well-spoken, and just because you're famous, doesn't mean that you're a great listen. That's why there are a lot of famous people who will do podcasts. And there may be a lot of reasons why podcasts don't work or whatever. And I'm not trying to disparage anybody. Listen, my podcast is not anywhere near the level of listenership of some of these other famous people. But I'm just talking about, like, the real super famous people who may try to do podcasting and they get into it, but then they realize that, again, they don't have that much to say. Or when people try to listen and they're like, there's not really much happening here. So it's a tricky game. And I think Russell Wilson, while we know he's very eloquent and we know he's well-spoken and all those things, all those stereotypes they use for black men, to be honest. But it's true. Those are the things that matter with television and radio. You still got to have things to say. And I felt like some of these, like, moments where he was getting a little more spicy on mic, getting a little more spicy on social media, I thought that was him signaling to these networks, hey, if you hire me, it's going to be money well spent. I can actually do this, and I'm in this for the long term, long haul. I'm not going to be here trying to protect relationships or protect my legacy in any way because I'm trying not to ruffle feathers, which is what your goal is as a quarterback. It's totally different. When you're playing quarterback, we talked about the whole thing, the Jackson Dart thing, right? Like, you're trying to avoid distraction at all costs, which means staying positive, but never getting too high or too low, never causing any headlines, simply just giving the company line and being disciplined with that. And it's not easy. It's hard to do that. It's an entirely different skill set than being obviously a television analyst. So I think he'll probably be pretty good. Like, I'll be real. For me, my only, like, what's the word? I guess my only beef with, like, some of these arrangements is I wish more of these guys would go into the booth. I may be in the minority. I also think this guy just has a lot of haters who just won't like anything he does. I feel like Tom Brady's gotten really good in the booth. I think the way he thinks about the game, I think the way he breaks down clock management especially, he's probably been the best I've seen live call out like clock management issues. He's very good at it, and it shows just his brain in terms of how much that was a part of his game and how much it's still something that he thinks about a lot. I think he's gotten really good. To me, I want to know when I'm watching a game, like how is this team trying to attack this other team, or how are they going to approach situations live? And when Tony Romo, when he was good, was able to do that. Now I don't know what he's doing now. To be honest, your guess is as good as mine. But I like more of those guys. I actually would have loved to have heard Russell Wilson, a guy who was played in this modern NFL, obviously just last year, and the game has evolved and changed so much. I would love to have actually seen him in the booth. I actually would have loved to have seen him call games and talking about strategy and what teams are trying to do and how teams got to attack people. Like I think getting these quarterbacks that are freshly retired and putting them in the booth is a way better move than putting them on some pregame show that we just see the numbers. There's no disrespect to the NFL and CBS crew. They're probably the best. I don't know. I don't want to put anything on it, but they're definitely the most iconic crew because this is the kind of the first show. NFL Today was like this. It was the first of its kind. When they had Jimmy the Greek and all those guys. Like, this is probably Brett Musburger, right? Was a part of that show. So that's probably the most iconic team and an iconic brand to be on if you're going to be on a pregame show and a studio team. I just feel like the studio team and the pregame show has never had less value to sports fans than it does now. There was a time where I feel like, what this person said on the pregame show or what that person said at halftime, like those things used to like carry more weight. There's a million reasons why they don't, and I can go through all of them. I don't got time to go through all of them, but it just doesn't anymore. Like, when was the last time like Bill Cowher made a headline or something he said at halftime? When was the last time Rex Ryan will make some headlines because he said some wild stuff? But that's kind of my point. Like, you have to be Rex Ryan to make headlines on those shows. It's just less people watch them. More people have their own ways to find their own content to get ready for Sundays. I think a lot of people just tune a lot of stuff out. Like, the reality is, again, I think, I've seen Triple A say this and Nick Khan say this for WWE. Like, the reality is you're not just competing against other wrestling companies for their sake or maybe even other sports companies for attention. You're competing with everything. You're competing literally with everything. You're competing with Love Island. You're competing with reruns of Seinfeld. You're competing with every single thing because of the nature of streaming. Everything is at everybody's disposal. So, at a time, go back 30 years ago, 40 years ago, when there's only 5 channels and there's no such thing as streaming, those shows meant more because this is where you're going to get Jimmy the Greek giving you his gambling advice, right? You're going to get this analysis and talking head commentary that was very cutting edge at the time. I could say it's Sunday morning. I don't like the NFL. I have no issue with them. I have no issue with all the teams. But let's just say I'm one of those people that I don't like the NFL on CBS crew for some random reason. I'm going to turn on my Jets podcast. Or I'm going to turn on my Giants podcast or my Vikings podcast or whatever. Or some of these teams are doing their own streams on their YouTube channels. Like, I can find something. Or I can find my favorite content creator talking about these games prior to Sunday. Like, there's just so many avenues to avoid these people. So I always feel like these companies, and I don't want to, let me be clear, I don't want anyone losing their jobs. But I think probably the attention and the star power being put on those teams is probably wasted. I think you're way better off going the Fox route and putting your biggest stars in games. Tom Brady needs to be doing a game because it's more time. It's literally more airtime. Tom Brady's he's on TV and you hear his voice for 4 hours. It's different than being in a booth in a studio for those shows, probably an hour, maybe some of them are 2 hours. I don't know, an hour. And then a 15-minute halftime. I mean, maybe not even that. Like a 8 to 10-minute halftime for the first afternoon game, and then the 10-minute for second afternoon game. That's all you're hearing from Russell Wilson. I don't know what you're getting out of that. Now, for Russell Wilson, this is a way better game than going out there on the road. It's better for him. He already lives in New York now. I get to stay in New York. I can stay in the house I just bought probably, or stay in New Jersey, wherever he stays. I can stay in New Jersey or New York. I come into work once a week. And I make millions of dollars. And I talk for his talking time overall, probably for the duration of one Sunday. Maybe he's talking for 5 minutes. It's probably actually 5 minutes of him actually talking. Like I'm like it's a great gig. I would rather do that than have to travel all over the country every week and do all. He still got to do the film study and stuff even for his studio show. But interviewing coaches, interviewing players, there's so much that goes into pre-preparation work of actually doing these games. This is going to be a lighter load for anybody. So that's probably the aspect of it that he enjoys. Last thing, man, before we get out of here, I want to thank you guys so much for checking me out. This is 40 Days and Counting. Of course, if you're enjoying this show, multiple ways to watch the show. You can catch it on YouTube, New Generation Media. You can also, of course, check me out on X, EJ_Stewart. You can also check me out on Instagram, Action EJ. I always like to go to Instagram because my Instagram comments don't always show up, which is annoying. But shout out to the folks watching on Instagram. We got Mass1505. He always shows up, so I appreciate him. Slowpez27, shout out to you. That's the son of Roma Torre. Remember if you remember the great New York One anchor. So much love to him. Buzzer, shout out to my family in Buzzer. I'm also live on Buzzer, by the way. They're watching today, so thank you for them. Killingsby, Alan Ellis 77, another Maggie and Perloff staple. So shout out to him. Shout out to everybody watching on Instagram. Again, Action EJ is where you'll find me on Instagram. You can also find me on TikTok, Action EJ, though I'm not streaming live there. And like I mentioned, I'm streaming live on Buzzer. So make sure you head over to Buzzer again, sign up. It's going to be the next big thing when it comes to sports social media live content. So if you want to see your favorite content creators verified without having to deal with bots, without having to deal with aggregators, without having to deal with parody accounts, maybe you like those things. And if you like those things, then X is the place for you. But if you do want some of that stuff without the noise in terms of the sports content, Buzzer's where you're going to want to go. Head over, sign up, follow your boy, EJ205 Preps, where you'll find me there, or just search my name, EJ Stewart, and you'll find me. And, of course, follow as well New Generation Media, because we also have a page on Buzzer as well. So make sure you keep it locked there. So last thing before we get out of here, I want to talk about some video games. I'll be real, I'm trying to wonder. I had to have talked about video games at some point. Because I was saying how I felt like I've hit almost everything. I've done reality TV. I've done wrestling. I've hit almost every corner of EJ's interest. I'm wondering, has there been any point when I've done video games? I actually don't know if I have. We'll leave that there. I've done movies, of course. I've done television. So this could be a first foray, but who knows? I've been doing a million of these shows at this point for 40 days. But I do want to talk about some of the details we learned. It was the first details we learned for both Madden NFL 27 and College Football 27. So Madden NFL 27 comes out in August. We got July will be the release time for EA College Football 27. Caleb Williams has been announced as the cover athlete for Madden 27. So if you're one of those people who fear for a Madden curse, that's the person to follow this year. Caleb Williams is definitely a good choice. If you're EA, he is he's an exciting player. He's an ascending player. I think anytime you could find like a guy who is deemed like one of the next ones or next great talents, those are the guys you want to try to find, as opposed to maybe getting the guy that's already kind of been old news. So Caleb Williams is a great guy to pick. These covers are awesome too. Both the one of him throwing the ball. I'll see if maybe I can pull it up. I know sometimes this could be a little weird, but let me see. I'm going to share my screen. Let's hope that this works. Madden, Caleb, Snow, white uniform, fingernails, all part of the deal. And there's another cover too where he's throwing the ball as well, jumping and throwing. We've seen him. That's like one of his signatures now, right? Especially after what he did in that game against the Rams last year, the jump throw, for the 2-point conversion, or yeah, I think it was a 2-point conversion. One of the greatest throws I've ever seen. Still, incredible. So, Caleb Williams, cover athlete for Madden NFL 27, cover athletes for college football. I'll be honest, and maybe I'm salty. I'm sorry if I sound like a salty Miami Hurricanes fan. I don't love the deluxe cover. It has Kurt Signetti on it. I don't know. I feel like putting coaches on covers generally is weird. It didn't sit right with me that Kurt Signetti was on this cover. But he is the man of the hour. He did lead Indiana, out of nowhere to a national championship. So here's the cover for the deluxe edition for EA College Football 27. I also think there's a lot going on. I think there's too many things happening. Jordan Maiava is back there. Simmons is back there. Like, I think there's a lot of people here. Now, for when it comes to the actual main cover athletes that are there, the other cover that they have, which I'll show you in a second as well, I can pull it up here, actually is going to be this cover right here we see on the left. So that cover, which includes Keywan Lacey, my guy, Baby Jesus, Malachi Tony, and Dante Moore. I would prefer they kind of just kept it to the actual players per se. It's supposed to make the coach be the center stage, but I love this cover. This is a really cool cover for this one. I thought the standard cover I thought was way better than the lost cover. So those are the details in terms of cover stuff that was revealed this week. But there also was a lot of details regarding these actual games. So I have a tough decision to make. If you know me, you'll know. Well, you may not even notice if you know me. I grew up playing sports video games a ton. It's one of my go-to hobbies. So, of course, I grew up playing Madden. I'll be real. I feel like the last one I played, so that's going to lead me to the story. I felt like Madden was just really treading water and treading his tires with the gameplay, with the franchise mode. It became so much a let's do Ultimate Team and buy this so you can get these players for random fantasy games that I don't care about. And they got so much into the microtransaction game that it became gross to me, and the builder aspect, that just an aspect I know it's big in general gaming. It's never been a big thing in sports gaming. They really were infusing it. 2K's had the same issues too. So much so that I grew frustrated with the game, and the NFL has given EA Sports an exclusive license to promote to produce these Madden games, which means that no other game developer can do an NFL licensed game with NFL players, NFL logos, NFL teams. And I got sick of it. And I am sick of it. I'm still sick of it. Like, I think that it is ridiculous. I think that EA's been able to rest on its laurels and not give its customers and its fans the kind of football experience that they deserve. Like the Madden games. So I guess the last one would have been 24 I had. They were awful to me, or at the very least, just like they were just going from year to year, not improving. So I've been on a boycott. I've been on a 2-year boycott. I didn't buy 25. I didn't buy 26, and I was fine because I had EA College Football, so I was able to play college football, and that game's fun. I love that game. I will say some of the details on Madden this year has put me in a little bit of a conundrum of wondering, do I need to break my boycott, and should I? Because the reality is, as long as Madden makes the money it makes, there's going to be no reason for the NFL to not just keep giving it its license and renewing it, because the revenue coming from the game is too good. Once the revenue is not that great, or there's a reason to switch, then that's when they may say, well, actually, we're gonna look elsewhere. We're gonna actually give other people opportunities. So this year, though, because I am one of those folks who cares a lot about franchise modes, I'm wondering if this is the year I gotta actually cave and maybe get this thing. Because Madden's done so much now with the franchise mode. If you remember playing Madden in the 2003 to 2007 era, which is probably the golden era of Madden in my opinion, what made those games was being able to sim through or play through franchise modes that included robust salary cap decisions, holdouts, hiring actual coaching staffs, which included offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators. All these things were things that actually mattered, and they just got rid of all of that stuff. A lot of the things, there were no holdouts. Its contract negotiations were very run-of-the-mill. You didn't have to worry about hiring a coaching staff. It just got so simplistic. It used to get so detailed. You could actually try to move your team to a different city and go through a relocation. You had to have the right money. It was so many things you could do. It was an awesome experience. So much so that even if you were not in love with the gameplay, you could still find fun in playing franchise mode. Actually, I think I knew so much of like the rosters of NFL teams and like the machinations of NFL front office work because of simming through a million Madden seasons. Like, you go through it so much, you know all these teams, and I think it actually helps the NFL brand because it made people aware of other teams and players that are out and people that are out there. So, they've not just put any effort in that. I have no idea why. Well, I know why, because again, they put all their effort in the microtransaction, build your ultimate team crap that I just don't care about. But they have definitely changed. They are now making this a real, at least what they're saying, a real interactive franchise mode. So if you try to play a franchise, you're gonna have to deal with, a player who may hold out. You're gonna have to deal with trade scenarios that may require giving up tons and tons of draft capital. You're gonna deal with actual ramifications of making big trades. So if you trade for a Max Crosby, your top edge guy may be pissed because now he knows he's going to the bench. Players will demand trades now, which also can deal with chemistry on the team and things like that. Like, I hear this stuff and I'm like, man, this is what I've been waiting for pretty much from a video game. There are some gameplay things that I saw that I definitely, very much wait and see on gameplay from definitely the Madden side. But I did like some of the stuff I saw in terms of QB sneaks are no longer a given. There's actually skill behind it, which I think is pretty interesting. There's now this would be for the people who do a lot of user catching. Now there's a catch meter. So what I think is really neat, because there's so many plays where it's just you throw the ball to a guy and most part they just catch it. It's rare they just drop the ball. But there is a rating thing where it's okay, a guy with great hands probably will drop less passes. I actually like the idea that not only do you have to make the throw, and there's a meter to that of course, but now making the catch also is part of the play. And you have to actually have skill to make that play. Of course, the ratings will help with that. And how big their meter is in terms of catching the ball, I think is interesting. So there's some wrinkles here that I'm like, I might cave and give this Madden a go. I'm really on the fence because I'm firmly in my belief that the NFL is doing its fans a disservice by giving Madden an exclusive license. I do think that is bad for the league. I think it's just bad for fans. But as someone who loves franchise mode, I cannot lie when I say that a lot of this stuff and a lot of the fact that they're making this the big thing of this game, I think is great. In fact, they released a trailer yesterday, and the trailer is starring Vince Vaughn, who's a big Bears fan. It's the trailer's all basically him talking about being a fantasy general manager. It's very clear that the marketing for this game they're pushing as play franchise mode, run an NFL team, build your dynasty. I think that is something that is really cool. So Madden, I think I was very impressed with the presentation they had yesterday. I was very impressed as well with the EA College Football, which that's a given. There's no I get that game, not get that game. That's a game I will buy every year. I don't care if it's an exclusive license. I don't care what the deal is. I'm buying them games. I think the first two games they revealed since they came out were great. I also, again, am someone who my favorite aspect of playing EA College Football is, of course, Dynasty, similar to franchise mode on Madden. And the Dynasty mode in EA College Football has been good. It will take your time. I'll sit there and start playing my fantasy Dynasty mode and simmering through seasons, and what I think has only been an hour will be 3 hours. I'm like, oh crap, it's 1 a.m. I gotta go to bed. It's so fun. But it seems like they've advanced in that aspect as well. So if that's a part of the game that you really like, that's going to be a part of, that's going to be one you're going to want to follow, because a lot of things have changed. Now you're going to have to deal with athletic director expectations that are actually very personalized. So typically before, it was there were goals, but they kind of very generic. Win 10 games, win your conference, and whatever, you'll be fine. Now it's very different. So winning, as they say here in this tweet I see, winning 9 games at Ohio State is a lot different than winning 9 games at Iowa. Whereas before, it maybe was the same. You were never going to be in danger. Or you could win 11 games at Ohio State. You lose to Michigan 4 years in a row. that is a part of like the dynamic of the AD expectations for you keeping your job, and that could definitely get you fired. Like winning these rivalry games is going to be important. Again, the expectations each school has a varying degrees of how like chaotic they are in terms of like how quickly they'll pull the trigger. Some schools are a lot more patient. Other schools will pull the trigger in a heartbeat. Like I was looking at some of the teams. I saw LSU, of course, one of the teams that was like I forgot what word they used, but it was like intense in terms of like the sporadicness of rashes of how they make decisions on coaches, which I think is awesome. Love that those kind of stakes are on teams, and I love that it also will, according to the developers, it will also it's dynamic. So let's say you start at Florida State, like right now they stink. Expectations are high, but like they can only be so high because they stink. Let's say you get to Florida State, and okay, like for a team that we've now seen the last few years, they've been terrible. Okay, now you're winning 8 or 9 games, and you're making bowl games now. And then now okay, but because it's Florida State, and because you're having some success, now that bar is gonna raise. Now they're gonna be like, hey, like now your goal is to win 10 games, and now your goal is to beat Miami every year. Like those are, I love that that's a thing where it's not just this is a school, this is their expectations for the eternity. Like you could be at a smaller school, and maybe because of how well you're doing, your expectations get raised, and there's pressure to continue to stay at that level. So I love that. NIL now is a part of the game. I'll be honest, because I'm always honest. I always keep it 100. I kind of wish they would be able to just do the real money thing. I don't know why it's like a point system. Whatever, like maybe I don't know why. I would love to actually get an answer. No, of course, nobody's getting direct answers on some of these things because this is their first reveal. But it's essentially a point system, and different teams have different levels of points, and you have to allocate those points, and those points include NIL. There's not actual money numbers, but they're points. And if you go to a place like Ohio State, you may have 50,000 points. If you go to a place like Kent State, you may have 500 points. And that is like the real discrepancy between the big and small schools. So they are real, which I think is great. I just wish it was like, hey, just say I have $30 million and that school has 10 or 5. Like I would rather just have that and make it simple than like some of these, I guess maybe the optics of like, oh, you're paying these kids. I don't know. They're paying the kids. Like that's what's happening. Just like you're doing in NFL with Madden with actual salaries. Why didn't you just do it in college football? But whatever. The point being, they did it though in a way that I do think is functional, because as part of that point system, which we know is like money, what also is a part of that is paying your coaching staff points and upgrading or keeping up your facilities, which is also a big part of this. So now you gotta, we always talk about how like a lot of these schools, one of the issues they have is, oh man, like the facilities there suck. And it's like, well, like for us, the fan, we're like, what does that even mean? Like, like what are they working out where what was it? Clubber Lang was working out in Rocky, where he's in the basement, all the rats and the water dripping from the pipes. Like, what are we talking about? So for some fans, it's hard to, but we now know as college football fans, we know it's important, even if it's not something we see in our face. This is an aspect of the game now. So like, you got to keep up your facilities. So how much money you're spending on NIL could also impact how much money you have left to pay for new facilities, upgrade your facilities, and your facilities also deteriorate over time. So like, you could say, okay, we upgrade our facilities, but just because you did it, if you're, some of these people, I know me, I will sim seasons up until 2050. Once you get to 2035, 2040 or whatever you did in 2026 is not going to matter for upgrading your facility. You got to upgrade them again. So I love that aspect of it, that is also dynamic, and that also will help recruiting. Like recruits will want to go and have good facilities, and it'll also help with player health. Like the reality is also like your guys' ability to like combat wear and tear and to have good fatigue. Your level of your facilities is going to be a part of that. So it is very comprehensive on both sides for Madden and for EA College Football. Again, similar things with some of the different things with the catches and the QB sneaks. It feels like, from what I saw, the games aren't the same for sure, but it does feel like they're doing a lot more kind of like combining engine for gameplay from what I saw, because they actually at times were just using, just to talk about gameplay, they just were using either Madden or EA College Football, which is interesting because I'm curious. Like, I feel like from what I've heard, College Football was the better gameplay. I've not played Madden in 2 years, but College Football has been the more fun, better gameplay than Madden. So now that they're kind of becoming more of a 1-for-1, though the EA noted that there's differences with Madden. Madden will play faster because everybody's faster. Madden's going to be a lot more less about like crazy formations and concepts and more about precision than it is because everybody's fast, everybody's strong. So it's more about a chess game as opposed to anything with college football, where a lot of it is guys playing in space. Certain athletes are going to be a lot better than other athletes because, they stand out because it's college kids. So they made some different tweaks about it, but they are a lot similar to me in terms of just what I was seeing. Again, there was a lot of 1-for-1 in terms of things you'll see that are in College Football 2K, College Football 27 that will also be in Madden. Other thing I saw that I really liked, and I saw these, I think they're in Madden too, but I saw these in College Football, was there is a lot more customization for if you want to take away certain things in the game. I think some of this, they said the whole mindset was defense wins championships. They really wanted to help defenses out because I do think, especially again, only for me playing college football, if you were playing in even the bot, like I always play on Heisman, I always play in the highest mode, but even if you're playing the bot, at times it felt like even against bad teams, like they were like unstoppable. Like they knew where to throw the ball. They knew where they got certain things you just could never take away. But certainly when you're playing against a user who may know, okay, I know this play here. I know I got a cheat play, not cheat play. We know what I mean, like a pet play here or whatever that I can cheese when I know I need to get X amount of yards, or I know if I run this route and I do this hot route, this guy will always get open almost. And because you only play one player at once, you can't tell everybody what to do. It's very hard to find a way to combat that. So I really love that you can adjust how linebackers are playing in a zone. So if you're, one thing I always hated was playing, cover two, whatever defense you play. But if you're playing a lot of cover two, you just give up so many underneath drag routes because the linebackers are just playing so far back and they don't react. Like they kind of they see a guy coming and they're just letting the guy go there. Now, instead of just playing like a spot, they're now going to react to what the actual offensive routes are being run. So they'll see a guy coming in their zone. They're going to try to meet them at the zone or try to get to the ball before it gets released, as opposed to waiting for the ball to be thrown in the air. It's small things that I was like, okay, this is good. Because I want, not only do I want it from the sense of like, it feels like the bot, when you play them, they're able to make those plays and you don't. But when I'm playing my user, when I'm playing, usually Kendall's my competitor that I play against. Shout out to my brother Kendall, who's been on the show. Like, yeah, I want to be able to like there's real strategy. I want to be able to say, okay, listen, like I know he likes to run these drag routes or whatever. I want to be able to take that away and make him adjust, right? I love the idea that now quarterbacks, when they're on scramble mode, like a lot of times it was like good night, because if they could, players wouldn't follow receivers when they broke off routes in the right way. Now they did a much better job of trying to keep quarterbacks attached in a way that I think was smart from the examples I saw. So again, it's all a little curated, right? It's not like, this is what EA is telling us. But I was impressed. I was impressed with this big presentation that they made. And I think they made the presentation because they were like, we really want to like emphasize the big changes in this. And from what I saw from the people that were playing at the big event they had yesterday, was that these games, that especially college football, plays very different. Like, you're going to have to get used to playing this game. Again, the amount of adjustments you can make on the fly, adjustments you can make in terms of strategy, they're very real. There's also dynamic weather in these games. So rain can get worse over time. A game that starts off cloudy can become snowy and be like kind of like that AFC Championship game between the Broncos and between the Patriots. So there's a lot of cool dynamics to this game. I don't know if you're a gamer, but if you are, let me know in the chat if you're excited for Madden or EA or College Football 27. And let me know, should I give up my boycott of Madden? The last 2 years, the things that they showed and things they were doing, I never once thought about getting rid of my boycott. I was like, yep, I feel good. I don't feel like I'm missing much. I got EA College Football. I can play Dynasty mode into forever, and I'm fine. This year is the year where I feel like if you ask me today what's going to happen, I feel like I'm going to cave. I want to stay strong. I don't want to cave. But the truth of the matter is, man, the mode I care about the most has gotten the biggest upgrade it's gotten in probably over a decade with Madden, and I kind of want to give it a spin. I'll be real. So I have to see kind of what else we hear. But I'd love to hear from you. What games do you play? If you're not a Madden guy, you're not an EA college football guy, I'd love to know what games you play. Are you a Marvel Rivals? Are you Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, Tekken? I was talking about that. I actually got the last Mortal Kombat. If you're looking for a good deal, I don't know if it's still there, but I got like Mortal Kombat, like the ultra version. I guess that has everything unlocked. I got that joint for like $20. The deal they had on Xbox Store was insane. So I was like, I gotta get this. This is $20. So I've been playing that for a little bit recently. I also been playing a lot of Forza Horizon because I'm a Forza Horizon fan too. Love racing, and that game looks sick. I've only played a little bit of it, but you're racing through Japan. Graphics are incredible. It's the best racing game for sure, and they've been on a heater with these last few games. But Forza Horizon, I think I forgot if it's 6 or 7. I forgot what iteration of it we're on, but get the new one. It's awesome. But the last thing, I'm also playing like EA FC 2, and I'm excited because I think, was it tomorrow, in a couple days, we're gonna get the World Cup update. It's not gonna be officially the World Cup because they don't have the license of the World Cup, but we'll get the international tournament, the international teams. They'll all be updated for this upcoming game because we got the World Cup happening in essentially a week. So exciting things happening over here in the gaming world. But like I said, as excited as I am for EA college football, and I'll be honest, I'm also excited for Madden. The game I think I'm still most excited about is Marvel's Wolverine. So Marvel, almost right after I did my show on Tuesday, unveiled their first gameplay trailer for Marvel's Wolverine on the PS5. This is a Sony exclusive, so I'm pretty sure this will only be a PS5 release too. I don't think they're doing any more PS4 games. This game looks gnarly. That's the best word I can describe. The action is intense. I'm not someone who plays a lot of shooters or a lot of zombie games, but this has to be one of the more violent games I've seen, and definitely will be the most violent game I play, and I will be playing this game. But oh my God, you want to talk about a real difference maker when it comes to, I think, how the outlook of what we're gonna be seeing from games this year. This game comes out in the fall. I mean, it looks incredible. So you want to talk about all the things you want in the Wolverine game? Again, the violence is intense, but it is real. The combat is like, to say fun feels weird because you're murdering people, but it is fun. Like, it is fun to see how they've used the Wolverine combat. We know how great the combat has been on their Spider-Man games. To bring that to Wolverine and bring it in what is a really authentic way it was really impressive. Again, if you're someone who is squeamish, what's cool about this game is apparently you can turn down the blood and the gore in the game, which is interesting. I'm actually wondering, I live in a house. I love my fiance. She's not too well with violence. Violent movies, violent video games, not something she does. So I'm not playing Mortal Kombat 1 while she's around. I'm playing that at like midnight or 11 p.m. when she's asleep or when she's not around. So this game, I actually wonder, like, hey, if she's around, I want to play, maybe I turn the gore down for like these moments when I'm playing these games. That's something I was thinking about. But if you're someone who is squeamish, or maybe if you're someone, I know this game will definitely be rated M for what I saw. But we know the reality is kids are going to play these games too. If you're someone who may consider buying the game for your kid, but like maybe will say, hey, listen, I don't want to see them, goring somebody through the head or through the brain or whatever, or severing limbs, you can turn that down. So it's something to know. But the game in its original version is very violent, but the combat is awesome. There's healing factor, so when you're playing Wolverine that there is healing factor that you see. He gets shot, he gets whatever. You'll see him lose skin, sees part of his skull, but see that regenerate as he gets up. There's like a rage mode where he goes in berserker rage, and how that sends him into a different level of combat. We saw in the trailer they had, he got some help from a friend in Jean Grey, and there's kind of like tag team combat moves that they were doing together. This game looks awesome. This is different in the Spider-Man from the Spider-Man game in the sense that this is not open world, which I'm okay with. I think open world would not have really made sense, or if they tried to do open world, it would have been really hard because you would have to do open world multiple settings. Because we already seen that this game's going to take you everywhere. You're going to be in Japan, you're going to be in Madripoor, you're going to be in Canada. So are you going to have multiple big-ass maps in all these different places? Probably not. So it's not open world, but I don't think that this game needs to be open world. And I don't think the nature of Wolverine, I don't think a game should probably be open world for him. Like, Spider-Man is somebody who just sits around and waits for crime to happen. Like, that's what he does. Like, he is somebody, he's the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. So being in the neighborhood is part of the Spider-Man experience that is authentic. So the open worldness of him in New York City makes a ton of sense. Wolverine, this is a guy who goes on missions. Like, I'm going on this mission to save this person or kill that person, do whatever. He's not somebody who's like, I'm just chilling in Canada. In fact, a lot of times he doesn't want to be bothered. He's the guy that's going to look the other way until something happens to him or something gets put on his doorstep, and then he has to be sprung into action. So it makes more sense from a story standpoint that it's not open world. They're not just running around. Also, part of me is also thinking, like, from a standpoint too, it might be weird to be like, oh, I'm this guy who's just standing around waiting to kill people. Like, it's probably from a messaging standpoint, it might be a little odd. It's best to put him in an actual mission where there's a reason why he has to go and kill some people as opposed to just sitting around waiting. Where Spider-Man, of course, he's not killing anybody. He's, you do some moves where you kind of wonder, did he kill that guy? But Spider-Man's not killing people, so it's a little different. So I think it just makes sense from that standpoint. Again, this healing factor, graphics look awesome. Again, even like the dynamic nature of like you take out a guy and his blood washes over you, and that's blood that you're now carrying throughout your mission that will slowly come off you as you continue to go forward. But this game looks great. I advise you, again, if you're squeamish, maybe not for you, but if you are not and you love Wolverine, go check out their trailer. Go check out the details that are coming out about this game. This is a game I've been waiting for a long time. Sony's Insomniac Games division, they have all hits, no misses, to quote Drake. They are on an absolute heater. And given how the Spider-Man games have gone, Spider-Man Miles Morales, Spider-Man 2, I have no doubt that this one's also going to be very special. So I cannot wait for Marvel's Wolverine. Make sure you go check it out. Let me see if I can get the official release date of Marvel Wolverine. I don't know if they had a release date, but if they did, I want to know. Sony release date. Let me see. This is coming out September 15th. So even a little earlier than fall. September 15th. Woo! That's not that long from now. That makes me very excited, man. I can't wait. That's just about going to do it, man. I want to thank you guys so much for checking out this edition of 40 Days of Counting. Again, if you enjoy these episodes, check them out on wherever you get your podcasts, because we podcast the version of these episodes onto the New Generation Podcast stream. So search New Generation Podcast Network, and you'll find 40 Days of Counting along with all the other podcasts we do, except for Orange and Blue Bloods, which is its own iteration. But 40 Days of Counting lives on the New Generation Podcast Network page wherever you get your podcasts. Of course, we're live on YouTube. These videos also live on YouTube. Just search New Generation Media. While you're there, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like this video. Leave a comment in the comment section what you think about any of these things. Tell me who's gonna win Game 2 of the NBA Finals. What do you think about Aaron Judge? Will the Yankees be able to hold the fort down while Aaron Judge is injured? What do you think about Russell Wilson's career? Is he a Hall of Famer? And tell me about these video games, man. Are you buying Madden? Are you buying College Football 27? Are you buying Wolverine? I want to hear from you. Leave a comment in the comment section. And, of course, like this video and subscribe to the channel, New Generation Media. Make sure you also follow me, of course, on X, EJ_Stewart, where we are streaming live. Make sure you follow me on Instagram, ActionEJ. Again, shout out to the folks that have watched me on Instagram this morning. And follow me on Buzzer. Just search EJ_Stewart. Excuse me, not EJ Stewart. Follow me on Buzzer, EJ205 Prep, or just search my name, EJ Stewart. And that's about it. Thank you guys again for checking out this edition of 40 Days of Counting. We'll be back next Tuesday with a new episode. We'll be talking about, at that point, Game 3 would have happened. So we'll have a recap of Game 3 of 40 Days and Counting. That'll be Tuesday, 6 p.m. Be sure to also subscribe to On the Blue Bloods. We'll have a recap of Game 2, most likely later tonight, tomorrow morning, whenever that comes down. And make sure you listen to me on Fan. I'll be on WFN New York, 12 a.m. to 5 a.m. Saturday night into Sunday morning. So make sure you check me out on the Fan, WFAN New York. I'm EJ Stewart. Have a lovely weekend.